This is really common in New York City, where renters just stumble upon rent-stabilized apartments. They weren't necessarily specifically looking for a stabilized apartment, but they show up to the viewing, they apply, they like it, and only when they're signing the lease, they find out that the apartment is in fact stabilized. There are nearly 1 million rent-stabilized apartments in New York City. That's nearly 50% of all of the apartments. So you actually have a very high chance of stumbling upon one of these apartments. And I'm gonna tell you how we can take luck completely out of the equation. But this is the reason why you should prioritize trying to find a rent-stabilized apartment, especially if you wanna stay in that apartment for the medium to long term. When people talk about getting priced out of a neighborhood or priced out of New York, it's because they have a market rate apartment. They cannot withstand the rent increases every single year, because when you have a market rate apartment, the landlord can increase the rent to whatever they want. So if a neighborhood starts to boom or become in high demand, the landlord could say, hey, your rent's going up 30% next year. If you don't like it, skedaddle. But this cannot happen if you have a rent stabilized apartment. When you have a stabilized apartment, the landlord has to renew your lease every single year that you want to stay. And the rent can only go up a certain amount, and that amount is voted on by the Rent Guidelines Board every single year. And that amount is typically between 0 to 5%. This is why we built New York City's first rent-stabilized map. Renters from all across the 5 boroughs have been sending us their DHCR rental histories so that we can build this map. Renters are also sharing in their Open Igloo reviews if they live in a stabilized apartment. That, coupled with the DHCR data we have, we're able to build this map so that you can pinpoint which buildings across the 5 boroughs have rent-stabilized units in them. Then you can narrow your apartment search to those addresses. Check out the map, it's linked in our bio. Drop your questions and feedback in the comments.